What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm one of your hosts, Alex Van Aken, and today I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard. How you doing, Kyle?
Hello, I'm doing good. I'm almost crossed the 100-hour mark in Tears.
Oh my God.
Close.
Wow.
95 when I looked last night.
I'm very curious what mine is at, but the Switch does that weird thing where you can't look.
Yeah, you gotta wait 10 days. It's
yeah. We're also joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
Hey, what's all this podcasting about?
I don't know, fella.
Don't like this character. Don't know who it is.
Now, what's your name, fella?
Well,
I feel like I've seen you around here.
Well, you probably saw me at the saloon. They call me Ernie.
Ernie Ball.
I see my reputation precedes me.
I love your guitar strings, Ernie. Ernie Ball is a guitar manufacturer, guitar accessory manufacturer for listeners who don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely.
It's nice to meet you, Ernie Ball.
Nice to meet you, too. So I'd spin a yarn with y'all about them video games and whatnot, you know.
Well, speaking of yarn spinning, the spinning and most rootinest, tootinest news hound himself's joining us, Wesley LeBlanc. He's
howdy.
He's French.
Oh yes, hello, oui.
Hello.
I didn't know we had to prepare an accent.
Me neither. He just threw it at me.
Hey, improv, baby, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
All those fifth grade improv tournaments paying off finally. I was in an improv troupe.
In fifth grade?
Yeah, my stepmom was the coach.
You were in the Groundlings.
Cool.
Yeah, the Groundlings. Yeah, that was me.
Impressive.
Yeah. How's everybody doing this week? Any big games that you've been playing this week? One in particular?
Well, you know, there's the one. What's it called? The
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I fired that back up.
Yeah, the official name, the sequel to Breath of the Wild, right? That's what it was for a long time.
I kind of wish that they kept that because that would be so pretentious of like the sequel to the Breath of the Wild. It sounds like Quentin Tarantino's 8th film, like that vibe.
Yeah,
a Suda 51 joint. I mean, they've felt that pretentious about the series. I mean, they called it The Legend Up was the first release. They're like, we're gonna release a cold cartridge. We're gonna call this a legend. We're calling our shot now, and it's like, damn, they did call their shot. They were right. But then they took it off for the second one because they weren't as sure, I guess. The second one's just Zelda 2.
Which, to be fair, for that second one.
That was
yeah.
Great.
Well, thanks for joining me today, fellas, on the Game Informer Show. Let's just jump into it. God, I'm a YouTuber. Let's just jump into it. Wes, today we revealed our Final Fantasy XVI cover story written by you. Tell us about it.
Yes. Yeah, this is the issue 356. Will be hitting mailboxes soon and launching digitally on May 22nd. That is when you can actually read the cover story. For now, you can go to GameInformer.com and read our amazing cover reveal feature. But yeah, so I traveled to Tokyo, Japan, to Square Enix's headquarters to play a bunch of Final Fantasy XVI and interview 7 of the game's leads and watch them play the game as well. And then I wrote my biggest cover story yet for it. It was quite an undertaking, but one I'm very, very proud of and excited for people to read.
Hell yeah.
Now, is it safe to say that at this point, Wes, you have played more Final Fantasy XVI than anyone not affiliated with Square Enix?
I think so. It's funny. I had this thought earlier this morning. I was like, outside of Square Enix and Creative Business Unit 3, I might potentially be the foremost expert on Final Fantasy 16. Unless the 9 hours of interviews I did was them just lying to me a bunch.
The game comes out, it's like cell shaded. It's like a cartoony.
It's Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Hey,
that wouldn't be that surprising though. If like it turns out I was actually talking to Nomura the whole time, and this game is Remake Part 2, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like a Nomura joint.
It's a good Yoshi P mask he was wearing.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's a story that it's kind of, we went into it with the idea of like priming folks ahead of Final Fantasy XVI. I wouldn't call it like an encyclopedic type feature, but it does touch on a bit of all the different aspects of Final Fantasy XVI. And we have some exclusive things that I don't think have been revealed anywhere else. And unless something changes between now and May 22nd, will have not been revealed anywhere else except our cover story, which I'm stoked about. Can't say too much more on that regard, but there's a lot there. I'll list the people off because I know people really pay attention to this studio specifically. Producer Naoki Yoshida, director Hiroshi Takai, combat director Ryota Suzuki, creative director Kazutoyo Maehiro, art director Hiroshi Minagawa, localization director Michael Christopher Koji Fox, and composer Masayoshi Soken. So it was the most people I think I've ever talked to for just any feature I've written in my life, actually. And I talked to each of them for like at least an hour each. So it was a ton of interview content to like synthesize. And that's why the cover story is not where our Final Fantasy XVI coverage ends. Starting next week, we will have, and over the next few weeks, 24 features going up on our Final Fantasy XVI hub. And that's going to have even more details, going deeper into things within the cover story, talking about things that just aren't in the cover story at all, and more. And then, Alex, you've got some video content in the work too, right?
Yeah. You, when you interviewed Koji Fox and Masayoshi Soken, and you had the camera along with you for that. And so we have both of those interviews to show off over on the YouTube channel. I'm excited for that. They're currently being edited as we speak. At least one of them is. And those will roll out as well next week. We'll probably just kind of knock them both out the same week as the cover, that the cover becomes available. But yeah, those are super cool. They turned out really great. I can't wait for people to see them and to, scrub them for any extra details.
Yeah.
But it's going to be great. Again, GameInformer.com/ what's our vanity URL for this one?
FFXVI.
FFXVI. FF16, but cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, anything else we need to touch on before we move on?
I want to mention, like, it's not very spoilery. I know people treat big tentpole releases like this, sometimes they go into like blackout mode and don't want to see anything. I wouldn't call this very spoilery. There's like some details about like mechanics or gameplay things that aren't known yet, but as far as story goes, I took great caution in the story to not really spoil that. One, because it doesn't really serve anybody too much to just outright spoil what happens, and I've tried to focus on my impressions of that story, so talking about what I think of what I saw. And then other than that, you can buy a physical subscription, you can buy a physical subscription, but you can also buy like individual issues on GameStop. And this issue in particular, and every issue, but this one, I'm in love with the cover story design. Our magazine team crushed it. It's beautiful. We got a ton of amazing art from Square Enix to put into this magazine, art that has not been seen anywhere else either, and screenshots and more. So if you want to see some more of Final Fantasy XVI's visuals and how amazingly our magazine team laid it out, definitely pick up a copy.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You can now, if you don't have a subscription, or maybe you want to get an extra issue for a friend, you can go to GameStop.com/GameInformer, and that's where they're selling single issues for $5.99 a piece. And our last 4 issues, and now this one, our 5th, are available, starting next week. So yeah. Let's move on. Let's get into Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's all I've been playing. My sleep schedules, I'm so tired because I have just my sleep hygiene is awful. I've neglected myself. But man, I'm having fun. This game I was worried going into it because Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time, period. And how do you follow that up? And how do you make that unique, especially revisiting the same location? And I am happy to report it's just, it's like Kyle and Brian said last week, it's totally new, and you're kind of revisiting familiar places, but there's like so much newness to it, and
it benefits from being the same place.
It does.
Like I'm curious because I'm sure they exist. There are people who are playing this first before Breath of the Wild, or maybe they just play this, and I'm curious like what that feels like to them, because I feel like a nice part of it is like seeing what's changed from that world you basically knew.
Yeah. And there's like a time shift that's happened as well, a time skip of a few years at least. It seems like a few years, and like the people who, there's just a lot of really cool, the stories just progress naturally, like, oh, that character that I helped out before has evolved in this way, or now like their apprentice is grown and they're helping me with this, and it just feels like I feel really connected to the world, into Hyrule. It's really awesome.
Did you guys know also, on that same note of feeling connected or like a return, that it saves your horse data from the first game? Because my stable horse was still there, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was a thing, because there was a part of me that was wondering, like, I wonder if there's something in here. And I almost messaged you about this, Kyle, but forgot, asking like, oh, does anything at all carry over from Breath of the Wild? Does it recognize anything? But when I went to the first stable, they're like, yeah, you got a horse here. I was like, oh. And then my boy Mystery was there waiting for me, which was good because he was like a maxed out, like super powerful horse. I was like, I already got like a great horse right off the bat.
I didn't have my save on the Switch that I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom on, right? Like I'd have to get it off the cloud or something. And now I wonder if I did that now, 95 hours into the game with a stable of horses, would any of my old horses just suddenly appear? I don't know. I
feel like it's probably got to be like a start of the game sort of situation. Otherwise,
You might overwrite some save data.
It just didn't even occur to me the potential of save data reflecting in Tears of the Kingdom, because like, when has that ever really happened? Like Mass Effect 2 and 3?
Oh, we're talking in general, not just
like it's not something that ever happens often, really. At least not that I can think of. I mean, Ratchet examples beyond Mass Effect, but I don't know.
Ratchet and Clank used to do it for a while, and then I think around the PS3 generation is when they stopped. For all those PS2 games, they carried over because I played all of them.
In what way? Like you got your weapons or something?
I'm trying to remember. Yes, I don't think they should have gave them to you, but I think the returning ones. Man, it's been a long time since I played those original ones, but they did recognize like, oh, you play Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. Here's something for you and up your arsenal.
That's cool.
That's cool.
And then I think they stopped around the future games. But
I feel like Nintendo does kind of do stuff like that, but you get like an item or a special reward. It's not like a horse that you have like a ongoing relationship with from Breath of the Wild returning in Tears. Like I know with the Fire Emblems, if you played 3 Hopes or if you played 3 Houses, that would get you like special stuff in 3 Hopes, and same thing with Engage. But that's like it's like a bonus reward or like an outfit. This seems a lot cooler.
Splatoon 2 and 3 actually did it, now that I think about it. So it's like maybe I'm like not giving it enough credit. Maybe it does happen more often than not. But yeah, it's like you said, it's probably too late now, but it would have been nice to get my horses. Although I don't know about you guys, I stopped using horses pretty early in Breath of the Wild. And like I don't really use them much in Tears of the Kingdom anymore because there's just way more fun ways to get around.
It's good early on when you're still learning how to make things. But I also forgot that you can't just whistle them from anywhere. They have to be relative proximity to you. So I was like, oh, right. So that limits it on its own. But
so I've kind of got like a couple different like sessions that I'll log in and do. And for the first 3-4 days, I just have really gone after towers and done shrines. And for that kind of stuff, I like to have the horse just so I can get to where I'm trying to go. But now that I'm kind of getting further into the story now, and not further, I'm at the first dungeon that I've decided to go to, right? And I had to effectively like to make it up to where I was going. Just naturally my horse couldn't come with me. So I find myself, I'm kind of with Kyle where like there are so many diverging paths in this game. It's like, oh, an island fell from the sky. Let me use my time ability to send it back up and I'll ride it up. And then I spend like an hour up on the sky islands doing puzzles. And then I'm like on another side of the map and my horse is nowhere to be found. So it's like when I can, I use it. Otherwise, my battery is also very small still. I haven't been able to upgrade it. And so I can't really fly around as much as I want to.
Have you guys tried putting the horse on a rock that's fallen to take the horse up to the sky?
I was just about to ask that.
No.
I don't think it can climb up there. But there's ways, like you could make a platform for the horse to get on. I might try that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would love to know like how far you guys are. What kind of stuff have you been doing with Ultra Hand? Like what stuff has surprised you? Because like it's fun for me to now see everyone playing it and like see, like we did the stream recently and watching Marcus solve a lot of the early puzzles was like a blast for me because like Marcus was tackling them totally different than I did, you know, and like still arriving at the same conclusion and stuff. So I would love to know what's like surprising you guys about the game so far.
Yeah, I discovered rockets recently.
Yeah,
and that has been a boon for doing some real dumb stuff.
Once you find a Zonai dispenser that has rockets,
like
I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna load up on rockets. I'd never tried. You know what? I'm not even gonna say stuff I saw online because I don't want to like spoil any discoveries for you guys. But I've seen people doing wild stuff with rockets that I was like, that never occurred to me at all.
I've been on a quest to basically build like the Green Goblin gliders. Like I've been taking the bird glider, and the last time I did, I was like, I had a bunch of rockets on me. I'm like, I'm gonna strap like 4 of these, like I put 2 under each wing.
That's great.
And because I was trying to get to a tower that was like way far away, and I was like, it would be a quick way to get there. That would be awesome. And then it worked, and I probably should have caused a sonic boom how fast I was moving, but it felt real good.
That it worked is just like that's that game. Oh my god, it worked. I can't believe that actually worked.
Sometimes it gets me in trouble though, because I was doing a puzzle in the Sky Islands where I had to like effectively like once I got over to where I was going, I had to turn around and bring something back with me, and it required me to build a ship. And I spent like all this time building the ship, and I was so proud of myself, and I get in it and I launch off and I'm flying in the sky. And I'm like, damn it, I forgot the thing I was supposed to get. And so I had to like turn around and like, it was a mess.
Well, I mean, not to backseat drive, but you should have just done recall.
Oh, I actually, now that that was like pretty early on for me.
Right.
I've used recall. Oh my God. This morning I was actually playing, and I was trying to take a Korok to his friend, but his friend, we were like on a cliff, but the cliff was sloped. And so the Korok kept rolling off the cliffside and falling, and I just kept rewinding him. I could not for the life of me like hold him with Ultra Hand. So he just kept like, I can't tell you how many times he fell off the cliff, and I just reversed him.
Oh my god! What a purgatory to be stuck.
There's this TikTok going around that I've seen probably like 100 times, and it makes me laugh every time. And someone made like a very primitive car. It's like a platform with 4 wheels. They attached like 15 rockets to it, put a Korok on it, and then out of nowhere, Rob Zombie's Dragula starts playing, and you just see this Korok launching over the plains, and it's like my favorite thing.
I think that was Sarah's, actually. I don't know if she just shared it. Sarah Pods.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
I think that might have been her video, actually.
It's one of those things that's like transcended now because everyone's like reposting it on TikTok, and so shout out to Sarah. She's the the
okay.
original.
She just shared it. Okay, but I mean,
it's incredible. It's so good.
Yow Trek or something like that. But yeah, no, it's so good. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. I saw TikTok earlier today, and they had built an entire rocket ship, and they had like separated it into pieces or something. Like there's certain Zonai devices that like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like if you hit them, they activate and you can use them, I think, to like separate things. And so they had shot this Korok off on rockets, and then it's like in the sky, and they shoot it with an arrow, and like part of the rocket falls off like it's supposed to, and it continues just like shooting into the sky. And they've got like the dude being like, Houston, we have liftoff, and like he's doing like all this.
Wait, is that the thing, or is everyone just like using Koroks as like guinea pigs?
Yeah,
Stuff. I'm noticing a common thread.
Korok crucifixions. So it's dark out there for the Koroks.
One of the weirdest things I saw, which is like kind of small, it was someone gathered like 5 of them and put them on a rotating spit over a fire.
Yes, I saw that.
Which is like, you look at that, you're like, oh, that's funny. They have the Koroks on the spit. But then you think about it for a second, you're like, those Koroks are all over the map. I can't imagine how much of a pain it would be to gather 5 in one place. Like, that has to be so much work.
Yeah, I only realized recently that you could like pick them up and move them.
Yeah.
So I found one of the puzzles where they're like, hey, get me across this like river to my friend, please. And then you're like, oh, okay, I can move you. Okay, that's helpful. But also, even my brain opened up a bunch of like, wonder what else I could do with you.
Yeah,
so I guess I could see where.
That's got to be one of those things Nintendo just didn't expect to happen. That just happens with video games sometimes. Like the
Korok abuse.
It's just like everyone's like, yeah, we're just gonna torture these poor Koroks. They're these immortal like creatures you can just throw around, you know.
I love that they're like, we're going to go hard on story. Like, this is going to be epic. We're going to add dungeons. People want that. And then the game's out and Nintendo people are just watching everyone meme these Koroks to hell and back.
Well, the funny thing to me is like everyone's clips have like 4 hearts. Mm-hmm. And it's like clearly everyone is just getting absolutely sidetracked. Like, I've been so careful to not spoil any story things. And like, clips that I'm seeing online, like no one has even made like the smallest bit of headway in that direction. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, there's like a whole good story that you can go find that I could tell if you had progressed, like just by looking at a screenshot and like everyone's just torturing Koroks and they're having a great time. It's great.
I still haven't even gone to any of like the 4 main villages yet. For like that first, I guess, mission. I've kind of just been I also try to like not find too many towers too early. Like I kind of like limiting myself, like, okay, if I can't see the rest of the map, that means I can't overlook the parts that I can't see, and I can really dig into them before I feel like I need to dig into it enough before I want to move on, for the most part. But yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like, oh yeah, I've already spent a ton of hours just dinking around or just finding what's around me, but I have 5 hearts and like 1 stamina upgrade so far, so I've been to the statue twice total.
I think I've almost got 2 full stamina wheels, and then I've got 1 or 2 extra hearts.
So you're really going in on stamina, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I always do.
That's what I did at Breath of the Wild too.
I did in Breath of the Wild, but here I found myself like dying a lot early on. Like, maybe
it's tough.
Right at the combat, where I was like, I gotta get some more hearts up in here. Like, people are hitting me hard.
Yeah,
I found one area in the castle, like right after they really give you control. That I was like,
going in the castle.
Well, I found like a hidden passage that I noticed the first time you have to go there, like on my way out, and then like once I got the glider, I was like, okay, because I couldn't reach it without the glider, and then I went in there because I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and then immediately ran into like a band of enemies. Like, okay, I don't think I'm supposed to be here, because they hit way too, like they were one-shotting me, and I was like very stubbornly trying to like brute force my way through it, like trying to take them out, but it was just using up all my resources. And then I just sort of ran past them and got deeper, and then found some cool stuff in there, including one area that I can't figure out how to access yet, but it's like I kind of see what they want from me. But it was like Breath of the Wild, one of those moments where you're like, oh, I don't think anyone's supposed to be here this early, because this just there's some stuff here.
I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus, which makes me actually I don't want any hints or anything, but I'm like, it's like I gotta go see what this thing's about. You know, like I don't know. I've explored the castle as part of the story and stuff, but secret passages and stuff like that, I gotta go find that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I love all the like underground tunnels and caves and like wells. Like, I feel like there's even a side quest that I picked up from like going, like I went into like a random, well, and there was like a whole setup for me to like read about stuff, and it sent me on another quest, and it's just like there are so many hidden little things to find in this game. I don't know if have you guys done any of the fashion quests?
No.
Okay.
I'm still on the Great Sky Island, so it's
Okay. All right. Well, I won't say
tutorial
anything.
area for me.
There's a lot
That's
of great
okay,
side
I'm not-
quests that
yeah.
reward you with cosmetics that are, really fun.
Are they separate from amiibo ones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
I've
exciting.
found a lot of amiibo stuff in the game, which is maybe an incentive like to not use amiibo. Like it makes me want to not use amiibo. Which I have all the Zelda ones. It's like one of the few things I continue to collect is like I like having the full set of Zelda amiibo just because I'm a Zelda super fan. But the fact that I was finding things that I know you get from amiibo in the world is like, well, I'm just gonna try to find it then. That's way more exciting and fun, even if it takes way longer,
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned the underground stuff. That was surprising to me because it reminded me a lot of Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring has a similar thing of like, oh, there's a whole subterranean map down here. And it was just kind of interesting to see.
It's weird how that works out. Like, because they obviously
Yeah.
weren't copying each other. It's not possible that Nintendo added an entire underground map after Elden Ring came out.
I mean, originally
this
this game was going to come out that same year as Elden Ring originally.
Yeah.
So
It's always so strange how I don't know if trends is the right word, but mechanics or areas like that play out in games. Fascinating.
That was one of those things I didn't like that I didn't talk about in the review or anything. I didn't talk about with anybody, but it was one of those. It's just like one of those things I was excited to come out and people to see because it's like, guys, there's a whole ass world that we haven't seen even like 1 second of footage of,
yeah, it's funny because I did that mission that takes you there like first. Like
It's a
of
good
all
call to
these
do
sort
that,
of like
yeah.
early stuff, just intuition was like, I think I should just do this now. And yeah, once I finished, I was like, actually, I think it was good that I did this immediately. But on that note, I'm curious, how long did it take you guys to get the paraglider? Because I saw a fun story. I think it was VG247 that put it up, where apparently a lot of players are missing the paraglider because they don't really direct you to it as quickly as they do in Breath of the Wild, which even when the playing this, I was like, oh, I'm kind of surprised I don't have it yet. And
yeah, you can't leave the plateau without the paraglider in Breath of the Wild. Like
Yeah.
I
I was
don't,
gonna say,
you're
isn't
literally
it-
not allowed.
Yeah.
To, right?
But I say that because like apparently what players are discovering is that the ones that miss the paraglider, they are doing the Impa quest without it and then basically finding themselves stuck because you need the glider, the balloon thing.
Oh, right.
Because you go up with her and she's like, all right, just glide on down. And then they don't have the glider.
Oh no, that's gosh. I mean, I certainly
Oh.
approached it, which is how I approach all open world games. Of like, I need to at least for a few hours stick to the main quest
Right.
because and that's like, and in my head I was like, I can't continue without the paraglider. I need to keep doing main quests until I get the paraglider. Like that was like really important to
that's
me.
'cause-
I had no additional insight. I just was like in my head I was like I can't not have the paraglider. Like that's absurd. you
Yeah.
know?
And that's how I got it too. Like I mainlined because I was like, I have to get this soon, right? And I didn't want to do anything else without it because it felt weird not having it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just funny to me that I think also some players assumed that Impa would give it to them because she's like, all right, just go glide on down now. And they're like, okay, she's going to give it to me now. And then she doesn't.
How do you get it? You talk to Purah, right? Like,
Yeah, you do all
it's
of
part of
like,
a quest.
okay.
yeah, it's like all of
Been a while,
Purah's
90
stuff.
You the one
hours
that
ago,
everybody's
but-
thirsting over on Twitter?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of thirst for, I think, Purah.
Yeah.
What a weird arc for that character of like, she's technically like super old,
100 years old.
but then she was super young in Breath of the
When
Wild.
she was a
and
child,
now,
now she's an adult.
now she's of age. But
Yeah.
I guess she's technically always been of age.
Yeah, I,
I think
don't
she was
like
an
it.
adult in Hyrule Warriors, I think, as well.
Oh,
'Cause I
really?
think it was a Hyrule War in the timeline. I think Hyrule
Oh,
Warriors is
yeah.
an adult, and then she becomes a child in Breath of the Wild, which is like 100 years later.
The Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild Hyrule Warriors, or like the general Zelda one?
Oh, the Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity.
The one that's like a prequel, right?
Yeah, because that technically takes place,
Isn't like an
100
alternate
years.
thing or something, or
Look, we don't have to get into it. The story of that game frustrates me so much.
No, we actually
been more
have to get into
disappointed by an ending. Like that, and the third Star Wars movie came out that year, and I was just like, "What is going on with endings that no one can nail this? This is terrible." And Age of Calamity was a cool game in some ways, but a terrible story ending.
You really flipped out when Link said somehow Ganondorf has returned.
Yeah, I was like, first of all, you're not supposed to talk. Like, this is like a problem to begin with.
Wait, did he really talk? Are you kidding?
No,
okay, I was gonna say
they weren't that idiotic.
Yeah, and I just this game's really good. The shrines, I've been talking to some friends as like we've been playing in Discord together, and the shrine we were talking, and just like the shrines, these are like they're on their A game with the shrines. I've played 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing math. 5, 6.
Yeah, 5's after 4.
So 6 times
You're nailing it,
4? Okay, so 24 shrines.
Okay.
Everyone's been a banger.
What was that map? Is it just something because I'm not far enough to understand?
No, I was doing
I
was doing how many upgrades I've done to my health and stamina.
Oh,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
Multiplying times 4.
Yeah, I know Breath of the Wild has that one shrine that uses the motion controls where you have to roll the ball
Yeah.
through the maze,
the monkey
which is
ball
like the
one.
one everyone hates and like.
Oh, I always loved that one.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah,
It was fine. I didn't love it.
I turned turned it over upside down and and solved it that way.
But I feel like, as far as I've played, and admittedly, this isn't meant to be a brag, but people are not as far as me. Like, I haven't seen anyone call out a shrine that they like dislike, and I'm kind of in the same boat. It's like I can't think of a single shrine that I was annoyed by, but I also like love shrines. Like, I'm a Riddler trophy nut as well. Like, I get every Riddler trophy in every Batman game. Like, that is the thing to play those Batman games for.
Yeah, but the shrines actually give you something.
Yeah, hey, I don't know what to tell you.
What do you mean?
I love
you
a
get to fight the
puzzle.
Riddler.
I love
It's not enough for you, Alex?
No.
on, man. It's Riddler. But I'm always surprised when people are like, "Oh, the shrines are annoying me." I'm like, the shrines are the game. Like, that's the fun part,
Yeah,
But,
the only
each their
shrine.
own.
It's funny because you say like none of the shrines have annoyed me, but there have been a few where they've made me annoyed at myself because you go in and you realize like the reason I'm having trouble solving this is because I'm overthinking it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think there's more to this than there really is. There was a shrine I hit last night and just could not figure out. It wasn't even like, again, on the surface, like, okay, I think I know what they're asking of me, but it seems kind of wild, but I don't see any other way to do it. And then couldn't figure it out, went to bed, woke up this morning, tried again, and then and actually I had looked up the solution, but before I committed to like looking at it, I was like, okay, let me just try again. And I solved it, which made me feel really just happy from an ego standpoint of like, okay, I didn't have to be told, but I was like right there on the precipice of like, I don't know what to do. And then it was the stupidest, like simplest thing. And it was like, oh, I could have saved so much work. I was trying this like way like 3 more extra steps basically than what was required.
Can you describe the shrine without giving away the solution, or do you, like when you're talking?
It involved the spring, little spring pad thing.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Which is the first time I'd encounter that device.
Is there a ball involved for part of that? Okay,
yeah, you have to get a ball, and then at the what I'm talking about, you have to stack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't want to give away the solution or anything, but yeah.
Yeah, I almost want to say what I did because it's so stupid in hindsight. Like I was like genuinely upset with myself, and then almost upset at the game. Like I was trying to find myself to blame the game, and then it was like, no, this is my fault.
The answer is always just to like put it down and go to sleep. Every game out there, if you get stuck, just sleep, and you'll wake up next morning and do it first try. It's so annoying.
Well,
but it's the truth.
Former GI editor who still freelances with us occasionally, Brian Vore, once said to me, or not to, just said once, it's like in a Zelda game, if it's too hard, if like the thing you're doing seems difficult, you're doing it wrong, because it's like never as hard as, you know what I mean? If you're like, I think I'm supposed to like jump off this wall and slide and jump, and it's like, nope, that's not right. It's much simpler than that, I promise.
Yep, that's where I was at, and that's what I actually remembered. Because you said that when we streamed, that I kept that in mind. Like, okay, if I'm doing this many steps,
smart guy.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, so that was definitely one of those moments. And also, I'm going to blame the fact that my AC broke last night. So it was like super hot in my house last night. So it probably got, and I was just irritable.
You're like,
I genuinely was. So it just
for
didn't
just
help.
butt naked trying to do this puzzle.
One of my
Trying to devour ice cream to keep my body
Cook
temperature
up
down.
some frozen berries or wild
Yeah.
berries or whatever for heat, sort of whatever. I can't think of all the terms.
I have been drinking homemade fruit smoothies, so that's kind of close to that.
By the way, for context, Marcus posted in Slack a picture of it being so hot near where he lives that a squirrel was like passed out on a tree. Like just to like let you know,
I forgot about that.
AC broken is not like some uncomfortable thing. This is like
It looked like the squirrel was
Marcus is in
dead,
danger.
though.
It's pretty hot outside. It's not dead. It moved not long after I
Because
took
you
the
took
picture.
the photo from a weird angle.
It's right
I could-
outside my window. Like,
Yeah, but
I'm on the 3rd floor, and there's a palm tree right out. Like where I'm pointing, it's right there.
Yeah, and so it's like, what is happening?
Thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah, right.
It's just chilling it out. I always see squirrels hanging out in a little area, which is kind of fun because you're so used to seeing them on the ground that you don't really see them in their element of like, what do they do when they're just up in a tree chilling? And they'll just be sitting up there, just hanging out, just relaxing. But that one was like,
He literally looks dead. His
I like
his
that.
appendages are hanging off the leaf.
yeah, he's like, it's hot. I'm tired.
I like that our editor-in-chief, Matt Miller, had to respond and be like, Marcus, did you post a picture of a dead squirrel in our work Slack?
Man, we can't be doing that, man.
And then he's like, no, it moved. It's like, oh, good.
Yeah, I've not found dead squirrels yet. And Tears of the Kingdom, I've seen them though. I've seen live squirrels. I've taken pictures of them.
Oh.
Yeah, with the little, which I also had to remember with the little what's it called? Purpad?
For a pad.
I want to call it the Sheikah Slate from the last one, but I also forgot that I should be taking pictures of everything because of the little compendium that's there.
Oh, me too.
So that
Shoot.
has been an obsession for me recently. It's like, oh crap, I need to go back and go full Pokemon Snap mode on everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this will come into play at some point, but I assume it will. Like you'll meet someone that's like, hey, can you give me a picture of this?
The funniest
So-
one is like enemies. You see like a new enemy, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta get a picture of this," and it's like running at you. You're like, "Hold on, I gotta get a picture."
Oh yeah, that's like half of the enemy pictures is like the eyeball close up, its arm extended.
Don't attack. You see the whites of their eyes.
That's awesome. I think the physics are also like more improved. Like even the ones that were in the previous game, like, you know, fire on grass equals updraft. There's like cool like fire melting ice now, stuff like that, and they use it in like interesting ways in puzzles and pathfinding, and it's really, really good. And I think, not gonna say anything about the story besides, and no spoilers, besides it's much more present now, I feel like, than Breath of the Wild. I was kind of surprised by that.
The mechanics, or what do you mean?
Like
the storytelling.
yeah, the storytelling. It's like I'm
Okay,
watching.
gotcha. Yeah.
There are cinematics that happen, you know, with Link in them rather than all being flashbacks in this game, right?
Yeah.
And that's really, I feel like grounds me in the world. And it's honestly kind of led me to, I don't know why. Normally in games, I don't do this, where like an NPC will be like having a hard time and they're talking about, oh, I just want to like sell some fruit because I need help. And I'm like, yeah, I'll buy you some fruit. I'll buy fruit from you. And like in other games, I'm like, well, why? I don't need that. I'm not going to do that. But in this game, it's just like pull something out of me where I'm like, yeah, I'll buy from you because I care about the world. And
You become a good person playing this game, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
It is. They
Yeah.
do like small things where it does feel like a world being rebuilt. You know, because Breath of the Wild is a post-apocalypse. I mean, it really is. I would get in arguments with people about that sometimes. We're like, no, it's a post-apocalypse. And Tears of the Kingdom is like they were interrupted in the process of trying to rebuild. And like the cool thing about it is like it's a small little environmental storytelling thing, but there's like, and it factors into gameplay in a great way too. Is there's just pallets of like wood everywhere. That it's like clearly they were all working together to try to rebuild things. And then from a gameplay perspective, you can interact with those pallets of wood to build things periodically throughout the world. So it's just like, it's just so smart, like little things like that all mesh really well, you know?
mhm.
You guys help that sign guy a lot.
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah.
He's awesome. He's terrible at his job, but he's awesome.
Yeah. I don't help every Korok, but I always mark it on the map because I'm going to come back at another point. Because sometimes they really want you to go. What's up?
Are there traditional Korok puzzles? So far, it's always been like helping a guy get to his other guy friend.
Oh no, there's
both
other stuff.
Okay, cool.
And new ones too. I've encountered like new and old, if that makes sense. Like there's some where you drop the apple in the plate or whatever.
Oh yeah,
there's other weird stuff too.
Yeah, sometimes
lift a rock.
Yeah, sometimes like I randomly picked up a rock because I needed it, and I was like, "Oh, there's a Korok here." I literally had no idea.
If there's a rock in a weird place, on a top of a tree or something, pick that thing up. Like, see what's under there.
Yeah, I think one thing I have to keep reminding myself is I have Ascend, and I feel like I'm starting to use Ascend more. But for a while, I just totally forgot that was an option. I'm like, what am I doing? I can just Ascend.
Yeah,
I like doing it in front of people because in my head canon, because I did like a dungeon with some NPCs and we were like wrapped up, and it's just like they're like, I think because they had said like, oh man, it was really hard to get in here, and so I'm like, it's probably gonna be pretty hard for you to get out, but that's not an issue for me. Bye, and just like ascended in front of them, and I was like, how must that look to them? I'm out here, just zipping away.
If you exit near an NPC, they react. Like they'll be like, "Oh my God, where did you come from?" Which is always
like if you pop up near them, you mean? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet. I need to find like a way to do that because the way he pops up always makes me chuckle. Where he kind of is like halfway and he kind of looks around a little bit.
Like, can you imagine if you're just standing there and suddenly Link popped out of the floor next to you and he just like doesn't like make eye contact with you and just runs off into the distance? It's like, oh, he's working on
like
something. I don't know.
Under a lady's dress and it becomes an awkward situation. Gets slapped in the face.
Last thing I want to say. I mean, there's plenty more to say, but the game's only been out still for 4 or 5 days. But some of the platforming sections in this game are great. And they feel like Breath of the Wild, like platform is inherent. Like you can glide from place to place and you're jumping and running around. There are some certain areas in Tears of the Kingdom that feel like a Mario level or something. And yeah. And it's just really well done, and they really expect you to use your abilities, to the fullest, and just really love it. I'm starting to get to the point where I might think like this game is better than the first. I'm not sure if I'm there yet. It's just real good.
Yeah.
Question about platforming, because I'm still in the early hours, so maybe I just need to stick with it and it'll feel natural. But the button layout,
you'll get used to it.
Okay, I'm clawing right now, and I'm not much of a claw player, but I'm using my index finger to press jump, and it doesn't feel right yet, and I don't know. Like
you
to
can
run and
swap
jump.
in the menu. You can swap your jump button.
Yeah,
I didn't do that.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if like I should do that, or like if I just need to stick with it, or
I would say
new controls.
Because I swapped 2 because I was like, oh, I'd rather jump with, B or that, button because that's just how games work. But I also realized that I don't jump nearly as much as I sprint. So then that became an issue where I was like wanting to sprint and I just kept jumping everywhere. So it's like maybe the default is better.
That's what I did too.
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend sticking with the default. You do absolutely get used to it, I think this was the case in Breath of the Wild as well. I think it's actually like a design decision to put the jump and the sprint button separate, right? Because if they wanted you to play like Mario, they would put it, sprint on Y or whatever. Because I don't think you jump further if you sprint, if that makes sense. Because you get
I don't think you do either
from your paraglider. So like sprinting up to the cliff and jumping off it is not going to get you any further than if you just saunter up to it and jump off it. But I could be wrong about that.
Yeah,
I haven't done the math.
Because I've done that a few times, but now I'm wondering if it's more like placebo of like, I think I'm going a little further, but maybe I'm not actually. So now I'm wondering,
But yeah, so I think it's like, like I said, I because also you don't really want to use stamina to run up to a cliff anyway. You want to save the stamina for the paraglider.
Right.
But that actually would be, I should try that, right? Like, it's like, see, like, try and measure it. Is like, do I jump further if I sprint up to the cliff? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel like it does a little bit, because
it might.
there's been a couple of shrines that I just like, I barely missed the ledge I was going for, and I died and I came back and I sprinted and did it, and I felt like it made a difference.
Okay.
It could just be that
it
could just be that I was, more on point that run, but if it does, it's minimal.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, let's move on to you, Kyle. You've been playing Lego 2K Drive, which is a game I've been excited for. I really wish it didn't launch the same window as Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, it has the unfortunate distinction of being the first game I finally booted up after Tears of the Kingdom, almost in protest, because I was like, I want to play more Tears of the Kingdom. But, all right, but I'll play a little Lego 2K Drive, and like, so I like what I played. It feels, I'm not a big Forza guy, Forza Horizon. I've only kind of dabbled in those, but it feels like a Lego Forza Horizon in a cool way. Like, I was really impressed. Like, at first I thought my vehicle was falling apart because I was like driving on the road and I was a car, and then I would veer into the grass, and suddenly I was on a much smaller vehicle, and like I thought my car was falling apart or something. And then I was like, stupidly, I realized, I'm transforming. I've transformed into a four-wheeler to go off-road, and then you automatically transform when you just like fly off into the water and you turn into a boat.
Yeah.
And like that stuff, which all happens automatically, you're not pressing a button or anything, is really cool in the sense of like that, that point walk idea where you just see like a point in the distance and you just like go towards it no matter what's in your way, which is like a super fun thing to do in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And like, I feel like Lego 2K Drive executes that well. I'm like, oh, I want to see what's over there. And it's like, well, I'm driving off road. I'm on a four-wheeler. I go off a cliff and land in the water, and suddenly I'm a boat. And then I like get back in the four-wheeler mode up on the cliff, and then I'm finally back on the road and I'm a car. And that stuff feels great. And like running through fences and stuff, and it all like collapses into this like chaos of Lego bricks is cool, So I like what I've played so far. And I'm not the biggest Lego guy. I don't actually like the sort of more traditional third-person action Lego games. Yeah. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're bad games, but I've never really played one that I, played for more than an hour, and I was like, I think I get it. I think I'm good, But Lego 2K Drive, I could see myself, playing more. If Tears of the Kingdom wasn't sitting there on my Switch, ready to be booted up at a moment's notice.
On your point, real quick, I previewed this game maybe in February or March, and I had a really good time. Basically kind of the same feeling as you, like Forza Horizon meets Lego. Touching on something you mentioned, so you do take damage as a vehicle because it has like Mario Kart elements with weapons and stuff. Right. And to rebuild your vehicle's like health, you have to run into other destructible things because those Legos build back onto your car. So it's kind of forcing you to crash into Legos so that you can put more Legos on your car, which is something that I thought was really cool because it kind of makes it more chaotic. Instead of staying on the track, you're like going into fences and running through trees and stuff.
I didn't connect those dots. I think because I've spent most of my time just kind of freeform driving around and spending less time in just the the traditional races. But that's cool. That's really smart. Like I totally missed that gameplay mechanic, but that makes sense. I like that.
Yeah. It's all really seamless too. I jumped into it this weekend as well, just a bit. I actually played with my nephew who he really loved it, which is probably a good sign for Lego. Yeah. And it's really cool, like you mentioned, how you can go pretty much anywhere. There's challenges and races like built into the world, outside of like the traditional Mario Kart style races. So it feels like there's always something to do, and it feels very alive. I'm only in the first hub area, but like there's NPCs everywhere. There's commentators talking. You can run into people. My nephew loved being able to just make a little Lego person go flying after running into them.
Yeah, I mean, it's got good taste. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah. It's really cool how seamless it is as a Lego game.
go ahead, Marcus. Go ahead.
No, it's like the thing that's always stuck with me when I think about this game is it's like while this idea started with that Sonic Mario Kart game. It was like the second one, All Stars Racing Transform, because it did the same thing of like the vehicles would automatically change depending on the terrain for like boats and planes and stuff like that. And I always thought that was cool, and I always liked that game and thought it was a little like under the radar of like, oh, this is a very solid Mario Kart like, you know, clone, I guess. But was always kind of like surprised that mechanic didn't really take off or was never iterated on by anyone else until like now. And I'm almost like surprised that, because this seems like this would be the sequel to that if Sega wanted to do that again, of like, oh yeah, just make it Forza Horizon, but keep doing the thing that you already were doing. It's like, oh no, Lego beat you to it. And it actually maybe fits Lego better because of the building stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know, it's something interesting and cool to me of like, you know, Sonic All-Star Racers Transform walked so that Lego 2K Drive could run.
Yeah. And with Diddy Kong Racing, you never switched in the middle of a race between modes, right? Because that was like
you mean like car modes?
Yeah, because there were
you'd always
races,
pick
boat races and car races.
But no, there were some races where it straight up did it automatically.
Oh, it did? Okay.
And Diddy Kong,
like you would
Kong Racing?
No. Sonic All Stars Racing.
Oh, I'm going further back. I was going.
Yeah.
Oh, Diddy Kong. Okay.
Yeah, Diddy Kong, you had to pick.
You picked. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was trying to remember. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I was like, I know you had the different modes, but I don't think you switched between them.
Riders Republic also had races where it would switch you. It was pretty disorienting because you'd go from like mountain bike and you'd hit a jump and then you'd go through like a ring and it'd turn you into a jetpack and you're like, whoa.
Magic?
Yeah, like just like yeah. I mean, there was really no explanation.
It was like, I didn't know magic was in that game.
Yeah. It didn't feel great.
Yeah. But I mean, I like what I played. Like I think it feels good. The world is broken apart into like you actually
It's
fast
5
travel.
hubs.
Yeah, it's like you fast travel between the hubs. Like they're not interconnected. You have to actually go into a menu to go to the different hubs, and then each hub is like full of stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I was impressed. I like what I played.
Awesome.
Yeah, playing it for me is interesting because it's like I'm kind of hoping like Nintendo's watching it. It's like, hey, maybe we do a little bit of something like this with Mario Kart, because I don't know how you follow up 8 Deluxe with just more tracks that are awesome to race on. Like it'd be really cool to see them. They don't need to go full like massively open like this game seems to be, but even just a little bit more of that world building type stuff, or just being able to freely drive around and run over a Yoshi or something.
I kind of would be into that though. I remember in
I was
Mario
gonna
Kart
say
64, you could go off the track and go find the castle, Peach's castle, like it from Mario 64.
Yeah, you're right.
That, like, I remember a friend showed me that, you know, that in that sort of soft kind of almost not quite internet era.
Yeah.
And I remember like it blowing my mind of like, well, you can just like drive over here and there's this like iconic castle from a different Nintendo game. Like, and then they kind of experimented with it a little more with like Pilot Wings and Woohoo Island, where you kind of have this consistent island between games, but it was very much a like, there wasn't, if I remember correctly, I don't think there was a lot of like, go do what you want. It was more like, hey, select this race and you'll go over here, or select this race, you'll go over here. But I kind of like the idea of like a Mario Kart where you just sort of drive around Forza style, actually.
What if that was
kind of cool.
What if that was the next mainline Mario game? Was like open world is Mario Kart Horizon, where like you drive around to get the places, but then when you get there, you do traditional platforming. They just combine Mario Kart with platformer Mario.
It would be amazing. That sounds perfect. I'll take that now.
Well, so I saw a mod recently where someone put Mario Kart in Ocarina of Time, and then the mod was like the person driving around Ocarina of Time's Hyrule, and I was like, this is great, man. I would love this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. I love kart racers. We need more.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm still disappointed that 8.
We have a
doesn't let
lot,
you-
actually.
We have a
By
lot
more,
now.
do you mean Mario Kart 9? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah. No, Diddy Kong Racing 2. Or there was a
hell
2,
yeah.
wasn't there, on DS?
I think they ported the 64 game.
Okay, there
And then
was a
they added
second
a
one that
bunch
got
of-
canceled, I think, is what it was.
There was a Donkey Kong Racing, I think, for GameCube, right?
They'll bring it back like Star Fox 2.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
Donkey Kong Racing. Yeah, it was going to be a GameCube game, and you would ride animals. and it was kind of like the
Yeah.
pseudo sequel to Diddy Kong, and
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
being developed by Rare, and it was canceled though.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that I always wanted them for Mario Kart 8 when they announced they were adding Link. I was like, they should just straight up add Epona as a cart, but it's just a horse. Like they don't do anything. And they put the like motorcycle, but you're like, no, it should just be straight up the horse. it's got a little glider you put on it.
That'd be amazing.
Well, let's move on to the last game of this episode, Humanity. This is being put out by Enhance. This game is weird. I really like it. It's weird in a great way. You play as a Shiba Inu, who is a god, who is escorting people to heaven?
Question mark?
Question mark?
A Shiba Inu is a dog, by the way, for those that aren't aware.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. But Wes, you reviewed the game. Tell us more about it.
So I give it an 8.5 because it's a really, really, really great puzzle game, but it has a few drawbacks. But kind of like you mentioned, you're playing the Shiba Inu god, and as you progress through the game, you're getting commands, and you place these commands on these very minimalistic, cubicle-esque maps or platforms, and your goal is to use these commands to move an often endless line of people, the humanity, to an endpoint. They come out this like bright white door, and you have to move them you guide them towards the light. And it starts simple. Your first command is like a direction, so you can make them go left, and then, oh crap, they're about to go off, let me turn them right. They're about to go off, let me go turn them forward. And then it just continues to progress to the point where there are levels near the end where I was putting down like 30 commands, and I felt like a computer programmer, like with the computer on fire, and I'd have thousands of people moving, doing different things at different moments. It's like all good puzzle games. You start simple, and then when you're at the end, you're like, I don't even know how I got here. Like, how could I have possibly completed this? Which is the sign of a great puzzle game for me. But something that's super interesting for me, and isn't really surprising considering Enhance chose to publish this game. That's the same studio behind Tetris Effect, another puzzle game that is extremely emotional and heartfelt. This game has a very emotional and heartfelt story. It's kind of about what it means to be human and our interconnectedness as a people. And it's a simple story. It's a sweet story, but it speaks to these larger themes of what, like, tying into the fact that you are controlling hordes of people and trying to guide them to the light. You're trying to help them like gain their soul and be nice to each other and fight off the others, which is this enemy group that wants to kill these people. And it's awesome. They talk about how weapons, destroy man. And then when you're introduced to weapons in the game, you watch how your droves of people become like war machines against this other group of people trying to kill you. And it's just this really fascinating look at like human nature. It's not like super deep, but it's touching and it's heartfelt, and it's not what you expect like in a puzzle game, which is always great. Fantastic score. I'm very, very excited for Humanity's music to hit Spotify. I don't think it's there yet. It's on Bandcamp, which I've been listening to it there. And it's beautiful, and it's on PS Plus Premium or one of the tiers. Like right now, you can play it if you have one of those tiers. So
just PlayStation though, right? And PC,
yeah, just PlayStation and PC and PSVR and PSVR 2. I don't have either of those, so I didn't get to check out the PSVR version, but I know people that have, and they said it's fantastic and takes the game to a whole new level.
One of them's on this very call, Wes.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot you have. Yeah. Yes, it should be down the PSVR 2 unit.
Not to undercut what you just said.
Yeah. That's fair, yeah. But it was like a really, really great, but it has a few drawbacks, which is why I gave it 8.5. So in the back half of the game, you are doing these extremely intricate puzzles where you have, I'm looking at a screenshot of my review now, and it looks like there's like 25 different commands. And sometimes your holdup is at the very end of the puzzle, like the last command you have. And you can progress faster through your puzzle. You can make your lines of people move faster by holding R2, and it goes about twice as fast. but I'm still waiting 2 minutes for them to reach that final command just so I can see if it works. And then if it fails, I can restart the level, and it does keep all my commands, which is nice because it'd be extremely annoying to go back and place them all. But again, I'm like, okay, I need to put a different command here. So I run it back, and then I hold R2, and I'm waiting 2 minutes till they reach that command to see if it works. And in the end, the latter half of the levels are, super experimental. There's a lot going on. I'm doing this so often, like, oh crap, this command's not doing it. I know what I gotta do. Let's try this. To the point where, like, I'd place the command, I'd pull up my phone, and I'd kind of hold R2 and wait till they reach that end. And it happened it got like boring when that happened because, it's not engaging. I'm just holding R2 waiting to see if this command works. And I would do that time and time again. So I kind of didn't like that aspect of it. I'd love to see them maybe, I don't know, patch in something to speed me up, or let me select where I want to start on my puzzle. But that was really one of my only main problems with it, is just you're killing a lot of time waiting to see if your commands work. But when they do work, it is a fantastic feeling. Placing 30 commands, watching it work, it's a feeling unlike any other. I mean, it's a really, really well-made, unique puzzle game. And there's lots of cool cosmetics you can earn for your people by collecting optional goldies along your path, which is nice. And I should mention, too, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't do puzzles, this sounds hard, which it is. It's one of the hardest games I've played this year. They have solution videos built right into the pause menu. So if you're like, screw it, I've done this 30 times, I'm tired of this, you can just go watch the solution video, and that tells you exactly how to beat it. It doesn't help you get the optional goldies, which unlock cosmetics, but you can complete that puzzle, which is a nice touch. I had used that a few times for sure. But yeah, it's a great puzzle game. I think anybody interested in puzzles, or if you played Tetris Effect and felt weirdly emotional while playing it, then this is a game for you.
Yeah.
I have a question about the goldies, because I played the demo and was like going out of my way to get all of them, but at least in the demo, it didn't seem to be any obvious incentive to do it. It was just more like personal satisfaction, like, oh, I figured it out. But
so
like,
there's 150 goldies in the game. Some levels have 1, 2. I think the most I saw was 3 in a level. And as you collect them, you fill up this bar towards 150. And like every 20 or 25, or maybe even less than that, you unlock a cosmetic. So it'll be like all your people have big heads, or all your people have a retro style, or they look cartoonish or neon or metallic, or there's a ton. There's like 50 different ones.
Shaders.
To unlock. And to progress through the game, you do have to get some of the goldies. Like if you're doing 20 stages, you'll need to get a goldie, like at least one goldie from half of them to get through. I never really ran into an issue where I was, crap, I don't have enough. Let me go back through and get one from here. So like I would not completely ignore the goldies. They are kind of important to progress, but at every level that has goldies, there's one that's pretty obvious to grab. And then the other one might take you a lot more brain effort.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who owns 3 companies, because when I first was looking into this, everyone was like, this is the guy who made Tetris Effect. And I was like, no, it's not. That's a completely different company. What are people talking about? And then realizing he owns both, and he founded Enhance, which is working on this game. He founded Resonair, which worked on Tetris Effect. And he founded Synthesia Lab, which is like a interactive art space thing in Japan, but they've also done like res tie-ins in these art installations. It's very confusing. The dude is very creative.
They've like built vibrating bodysuits that you can wear while playing res.
Oh my god, I forgot.
Right. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. The dude is, a visionary, and it's cool that he's just making more stuff. I respect the multi-company hustle. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's just the same people, but like they are just like, all right, this game is going to have this name behind it, this game. And it's just like very like art forward brand identity. Like it's cool. He seems super cool.
I should mention this. The Enhance published this game. The developers actually THA Limited. But PlayStation put out a blog post when this was announced, I think last year, maybe the year before that, where was it Mizuguchi?
Yeah, Mizuguchi.
He's the Rez guy that we've been talking about.
Yeah, somehow he got in touch or saw this game from the developer and was like, I want to be on board. Like, I want to help. And so it's made by a different studio, published by Mizuguchi's Enhance studio. But everything that I've read seems to indicate like he also helped develop. Maybe he's like a producer position, just kind of like, touching base and helping them out because he's good at this kind of stuff. But yeah, I if you would have told me this was made by the same team as Tetris Effect, I would have believed you. Like it feels so at home with that style of game and Res Infinite.
That's cool.
Is it super long? Like, do you have like an hour count or?
It's weird. I played it before it came out, so like PlayStation's really wonky sometimes. My hour count says 1 hour on the PlayStation, and I haven't updated it to like connect trophies and stuff yet. But I would say probably 15, 16 hours, and I got all but like 13 of the goldies. So if you aren't interested in potentially getting the platinum trophy like I am one day, once smarter people than me put out guides for it, you could probably do this in like 10, 11 hours.
Okay.
Nice. Glad this is finally out, because I've been following this game since 2018, and it was supposed to come out that year. And then it just
really?
Yeah.
I wonder what it was back then. That's a lot of time.
If you watch that old trailer, it pretty much looks like this, except for the dog. The dog was a new thing that was revealed in more recent stuff, but it was just
Gucci brought to the table.
People love dogs.
Yeah, they're not wrong, but yeah, I've always had my eye on this game, and it disappeared for years with just no updates, and I was like, is that still happening, that Weird Humanity game? And then boom, we're back with a dog, and it's at least from what I played of it, it's fun. I hope that I can make some time for it between Zelda, Fallout, and then all the stuff coming in June.
I should mention, that was one of the hardest parts about this game, is I was playing it up until the day before embargo, just because I've had an extremely busy week. But I had Zelda sitting in front of me all weekend, and I was like, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to play this. I did actually dip in because I couldn't resist. But I quickly realized I can't do Humanity Brain and Tears of the Kingdom Brain. Like, it's just too much different styles of puzzle. So I obviously committed to Humanity, but
that's funny. Tears of the Kingdom is so open-ended, and Humanity is like it's like programming logic. That is interesting to be walking those. But you're a hero, man. You're the hero of time for.
Yeah, you put humanity first.
It's me,
something
actually.
we should all do.
Who needs the link? Yeah. I do want to mention, like, the game's reviewing quite well. I think surprisingly, I'm on the lower side of reviews. I'd say I've seen it be like getting 9s and stuff everywhere. So I mean, 8.5 is still a fantastic review, but people really love this game, including myself, and I think everybody should try it out if they have any interest in a puzzle.
Hell yeah. Well, let's get into listener emails here in a second to round out the show. Before we do, just a couple housekeeping items. Don't forget, you can go and get the new Final Fantasy XVI cover. Head over to GameStop.com/Game Informer if you want to get an individual issue, or if you want to get a subscription, just go to GameInformer.com/magazine. Go follow us on Twitch and YouTube at Game Informer. And then follow these guys on social media. You can follow Kyle at Kyle M. Hilliard, follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7, follow Wes at LeBlanc Wes, and you can follow me at It's Van Aken, and then go and follow Game Informer on social media. We're also on TikTok. We're on everything. We're also on Blue Sky. So we're
wait, did we get the invite?
Yeah.
Shout out to Margaret behind the scenes here, posting there and getting it set up.
Yeah.
By the way, we'll accept Blue Sky invites if anyone wants to send us one. I think Alex is over there.
I'm on there, yeah. That's where I post the most cursed stuff. But yeah, and then lastly, go and listen to our other video game podcast, All Things Nintendo, hosted by Brian Shea. New episodes come out every Friday. All right, let's get into listener emails. If you want to contribute to the show, you can send us an email to the address podcast@gameinformer.com with the subject line Game Informer Show Question. Or you can join the Discord, which you get access to by subscribing to us on Twitch. And you can submit your question in the GI Show Discord channel. This week, Cody Gibson writes in asking, is there a favorite item from past Zelda games that you hope makes a return? Icons like the bow and master sword are most likely never going away. What about something like the Deku Nut or hook shot? Enjoy exploring Hyrule, everyone.
I'd love a hook shot that functioned almost like a like a swing almost. Like if you could shoot it like Spider-Man's web and swing around. Like if it was just a really long hook shot, that'd be kind of cool.
The long shot, yeah, from Ocarina. The hook shot was always my favorite item in Ocarina of Time because I felt like it really opened up the game in a way. It was like you could use it as a weapon and it would stun enemies, and it didn't use any, it didn't have to recharge or anything. You could hook shot as much as you wanted. And then it did that thing in Ocarina in particular where you would run around and be like, oh, I can go over there now because I can use the hook shot to pull myself up there. Mm-hmm. And I always loved how pretty late in the game you would get this item that would totally change how you explored. It was almost like they gave you a send like halfway through the game or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and as a result, hookshot's always been my favorite kind of Zelda item because I love how it changes the way Link can move around an environment. And I would have loved to see that in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like you could just save yourself some climbing by hookshotting like halfway up a mountain or something like that. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think that simplifies climbing in a way that Nintendo probably doesn't want in that version of Hyrule. If that makes sense. But yeah, I love the hook shot.
Give me a grappling hook that drains my stamina meter when I'm swinging on it.
Yeah. I mean, Wind Waker had that it wasn't the hook shot, but you could throw the rope
latch
up
on, yeah,
and swing between things, and that was always cool. But yeah.
To go with the Master Sword and Shield, probably the Master Ball from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's all I got. Breath of the Wild is the only game coming to mind, and obviously most of those items are in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I would say this is less of an item, but more of like I guess, ability, magic. The wall painting thing from Link Between Worlds I always thought was super cool, and I would love to see that come back on like a bigger scale, like in a big console game. So I thought almost similar to the hookshot of like the way that opened up the world and made you reevaluate space in a different way. I could just fold into this tight little space by just pressing against, I become the wall. Like I feel like that could be super cool in like in a Breath of the Wild style game.
Marcus, there is something in Tears of the Kingdom that is a call out to that specifically.
Oh, okay.
Maybe if you want to know more about it, you can ask me offline. But there is something in Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, that's exciting.
Like that. So it's a fully optional thing.
Okay, all right.
Interesting. Yeah, mine would probably be hookshot as well. Maybe like you could implement it in a dungeon where like your powers are rendered useless for some reason, and it's like the old stuff is there, it's like, oh, I gotta use these old things from Ocarina.
Yeah, like a shrine that takes away everything, including your runes.
Yeah,
and then it's like, that'd be fun.
And it's like, here's a hook shot, and like solve some puzzles with it. I don't know. That'd probably be so frustrating.
To not take it out of the.
Yeah, it'd also be frustrating to not be able to problem solve with the other items that you've grown accustomed to. Probably wouldn't work.
What if you got those mold mitts and they just function like ascend, but it was descend, and you just warped underground like you just dug super fast to get underground.
Cool.
You know what actually be cool? What could be cool is I was thinking of ways that they could add on to the building system and add on to Ultra Hand and stuff like that. And I think it'd be really cool if you could certain Zonai devices functioned almost like it'd be cool to have like nets. It would be cool to have like zip lines that you could shoot out if you set it up correctly. What I really want them to do is really lean into style. Yeah, I really want them to lean into the in the next game. I kind of want them. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, oh, it'd be super cool if I had to like manage a farm for like a side activity and like to like properly water my gardens. I could like set up hydrants, or I was picturing myself flying on one of the wings with a hydrant attached to the bottom and like watering plants, you know?
Chemtrails over Hyrule.
Yeah.
God, it's weird that you said Death Stranding, because now I feel like Tears of the Kingdom could be Death Stranding, like if they wanted to. Like, you could just use Ultra Hand to slap a bunch of packages together into a backpack and just carry this giant, oversized load of stuff around just Hyrule.
Yeah.
Also, all of those like piles of materials at that building sites are begging for you to build houses for people as like a side activity. And maybe that's in the game, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought that, I don't know, but I assumed that would be just, especially because Breath of the Wild had that whole like build a village side quest that you did. So I was like, oh, this is the more like manual fun version of this.
Yeah, we'll see.
Were there nets in Breath of the Wild? I would love a net, just could take up a sword spot, because those, I don't like creeping around to try to pick up fairies. I wish I could just sprint at them and grab them.
I stumbled upon my first fairy recently and had to watch helplessly as it flew away. I was like, I don't have anything.
It's so heartbreaking. Yeah.
Don't have any bottles or anything.
Yeah. But next question comes from JHerb24, who asks, do you think we'll ever get a Zelda roguelite similar to Enter the Gungeon? I feel like the items, enemy variety, and different environments would lend themselves perfectly to it. Heck, even focusing on a different character like Tingle. Well, there is like Cadence of Hyrule, which is kind of in that realm, right?
That has randomized.
It's not
elements, doesn't it?
It's not a roguelike though.
Oh, it's not?
It's more like a rhythm-based dungeon crawler, but it's not like
I thought there
run-based.
was randomness, and I think there is
like the layout of the world can be randomized in some ways, I think.
Yeah,
I guess I thought the progression system was also like that, like a roguelike. I guess I'm wrong.
I did finish that game, but I don't remember.
I finished the Zelda one.
Yeah, I mean,
but
not to go off on a tangent.
If we do,
I didn't really love that game, other than the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fantastic.
The game's better when you turn off the beat stuff, which is what I did, and then you play it like a cool puzzle game. Basically, it's awesome.
To great music. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I think if we did get a Zelda roguelite, it would be like a collaboration with a third party like that. I can't see Nintendo devoting its like Zelda team to a massive AAA like full scale roguelite. But I don't know. Roguelites are getting more and more popular. Maybe one day, but I think if we got one anytime soon, it would be like this studio has been given the chance to make a Zelda roguelite using that IP type of thing.
Yeah, I could see the Undermine team. I'm not even a big Rogue guy, but I love Undermine. Thorium. Yeah, come on, Nintendo. Call Thorium. Let's have them make a Nintendo Zelda roguelike.
I feel like Nintendo could come up with some pretty cool twists to the roguelike formula. Like they're really good about like taking an established idea and adding like one wrinkle that sort of like changes it in like a really neat way. I would like to see what they would do with something like that, honestly.
Yeah. All right, last question, and then we're going to get out of here. Logan asks, so I read a recent IGN article about how the Switch has sold 122 million units. But despite this, overall sales declined 21% from 2021. Do you think this will be the last hurrah of the Switch? We all know it's getting old, having been around since 2017, and with the cancellation of an arguably major third-party game like Midnight Suns, is this the beginning of the end? Are the days of the Switch numbered? Longtime listener, my first show was Diablo 3 coverage. Wow. Thanks for the question, Logan.
Man, so we got Pikmin 4. Is there any other big
Metroid?
ones here?
In terms of things that have dates, it's Pikmin. Because Metroid, I think, could very well be like at the very least cross-gen at this point.
Yeah,
I have a hard time believing that'll just be for the original Switch now. You know what I mean?
I do think they don't do like I feel like they don't do like a full new console, right? Because they don't really do sequel consoles. Yeah, I mean, I guess eventually, but I feel like we're gonna get a Switch upgrade, and that's gonna pull us along for a while.
Yeah.
It's been 6 years though.
I mean, I'm not saying I
that-
don't want it. I love it. But I think that's where they're going. You know.
Right.
In those financial results, they basically said that the Switch is around, like that's the main console. Their goal is selling Switches through this fiscal year, which would end in March 2024. Which to me is like, don't expect a new hardware from Nintendo until after March next year. So they have to have some other stuff because Pikmin is July, I think, right? Yeah. So I mean, how do you fill out another like 7 months? I think we're due for something Mario related. Like I'd love really anything. And if the Switch is winding down, that means Mario Kart 9 is on the horizon so that they can sell Deluxe 2 months later on Switch 2.
But don't you think they're so happy with adding all the tracks to 8? Like that.
No, yeah,
seems
that's
like
the thing
team's
is,
working on that instead of a sequel.
yeah, it's tough. It's really cool they're adding tracks, but and as someone who wants more Mario Kart, those tracks are not enough to really get me back into Mario Kart. Which
You
is
want like
kind
a
of
new
the sentiment.
mechanic or something?
I don't even. Yeah, a new mechanic's fine. Just like I just want something new. Like I'm tired of clicking on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Really, like it's been so long. Just give me something new. But so Kyle, you're thinking like a Switch Pro, like what people are saying, versus a Switch 2, or do you mean like the next console has to basically be another Switch?
I think we'll get a Switch Pro, and then that'll be enough for Nintendo for like 2-3 years, and then we get something that's not even called Switch. Then we get something completely new.
That's the console that is destined to not do as well if we're following Nintendo's track record, unfortunately.
I mean,
Every
I think
other.
it's functionally the same as Switch, but I don't think they'll call it Switch 2 or like some variation of the word Switch. I think that they've had better luck. I mean, Wii U is the closest thing to them making a sequel console, and that was a disaster.
That was a terrible name too.
Yeah,
if they called it Wii 2, it probably would have done better.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, so I don't think they'd call it Switch 2, even though Switch is just like such a great name that everyone has adopted. It's become kind of that like term for video game console now for a kid. You know, like if you're not a huge gamer, it's like, oh, you're playing Switch. That has become the new stand-in for like, oh, you're playing a game.
I just feel like if they're doing a Switch, because I don't think there's no way they don't do another hybrid console. I don't think you just go back to like you can only play this on your TV. Like the genie's out of the bottle at this point.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna do the hybrid thing again, then to throw away a name like Switch that has so much like equity behind it would be, because like if it's doing Switch things, just call it a Switch. Just give it a new name, even if it is the successor to that. I mean, because all their consoles have always just been named after what the console does anyway. Of like the GameCube, it's a box in 64 bits. It's like, well, it's a Switch. Just call it a Switch too.
I mean, and I guess I'm also not giving Nintendo to Super Nintendo enough credit, because that's truly the first like sequel console.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be called Super Switch or something. I don't think it's going to be called that. I don't think Nintendo is. I think we would find that fun and nostalgic, but I don't think Nintendo care. Like they're not going for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah. I don't know what it could be called.
Yeah. So I've been wanting them to bring back the Super name for so long.
Yeah,
Even if it doesn't
I
make
would be into
sense.
that.
Yeah.
It's tough. I feel like the Switch feels like a definitive Nintendo console in the way where like PlayStation and Xbox, their new consoles are just more powerful versions of what you did before. Like, I don't know if I necessarily ever need Nintendo to get too wild again. Like, I love the Switch so much. It's like a perfect little console. It does handheld, it does TV. Like, if I just had a more powerful version and then the games are able to do more stuff as we progress through time because of that, I think I'd be pretty satisfied. But again, Nintendo is the company that does these drastic console overhauls, and then we fall in love with it like we did the Wii and now the Switch. So I don't want to discount that approach, but gosh, like if I found out I was just going to be getting a Nintendo Switch insert number for the rest of my days alongside PlayStation, Xbox, like I'd be very okay with that.
Me too.
They just got to make a new
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, they bring back Street Pass.
Oh yeah.
Please do. Yeah, gosh. That would be awesome.
They also need a freaking new friend system For the love of God.
Yeah.
It's never going away, Alex.
You guys you didn't use Mitomo to like add all your friends to your, that's like, I
Can't
was looking
say
at
I did.
it's funny to look at your friend. I'm sure you all are experiencing this. You look at your friends list right now and it's like, Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom, Tears of the Kingdom. And it's funny, I'll click on people and it's like, you became a friend with this person through Mitomo. And I'm like, I did?
I have a few of those. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, that's. Have you guys ever memorized your friend code and like recited it?
Never.
Like, oh, add me. And you're like, oh, I'm number. Okay.
Have you? It sounds like you have.
I thought that I should like Wii generation of like, I think that's how I'm gonna have to like share people. Like if I'm talking to them in person, like I can't just be like, oh
I just have a photo saved on my phone.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like a passport number or like a TSA pre-check. Like I'm never gonna memorize it. It's just something I have written down.
Yeah, I thought that I was like, oh, I know my social and stuff off the top of my head, and I actually know my bank account number. I could probably learn my friend code and just recite that to someone.
At one point in time, I knew my debit card info by heart, and then that card got lost. So I was like, well, it took me 5 years to remember this.
Yeah, I can't even remember the 3 numbers on the back of my card. Anytime I'm like trying to check out on a website and it has most of the data saved, I'm like, I gotta go get the card. It's like 3 numbers. I can't even remember.
I'm iPhone dependent on everything. Like if Apple was like, hey, we're done, we're no more, I'd be sent back to like the 1960s. Like all my
your life just falls apart.
Every time I use Apple Pay, which is embarrassingly often, like I'm like, this is too easy. It is too easy for me to spend money using Apple Pay. I don't like it, but also I love it. It's so convenient.
I did want to add to the question though about like, I think the Switch is on its last legs in the sense that like, well, it's been 6 years, so like it's kind of on borrowed time just because of how long it's been. But I feel like the next console, there's a decent chance it could be backwards compatible because of how
yeah.
So in a way,
precedent proves nothing, still, but I would love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
like
they embrace it, sometimes they ignore it, and there's no telling.
Yeah, so it's like in a way, it's not on its last legs because that extends it for a whole other generation, basically. So I don't know. I have something in my gut telling me that they're gonna do backwards compatibility, if for no other reason than like this was the generation where they didn't do it, and they've always kind of gone back and forth. So now we're due for them to do it again. So.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. But man, if we're in any age to tell Nintendo something right now is hey, you don't need to do backwards compatibility. Just port it and slap a word on there like deluxe or remaster or whatever, and sell it for another $60-$70. And I'll buy it.
2023, we can't tell Nintendo nothing. They're making money from this. They got $1 billion from that Mario movie. they can hold up their awards and money and be like, what was that? You want us to do what exactly? Actually, no, we won't. I think
at least make a new console for Game Freak. Gosh, give them something, you know. Yeah. Look at Zelda running, and then look at Pokemon.
Or just send some consultants from the Zelda team over there for a month to be like, okay, here's where you're messing up. Let's
just have someone play
code here.
Maybe have someone play the game before it comes out. That probably would help.
All right.
Monolith is like on consultant mode. I'm sure they did some stuff for Tears of the Kingdom. It's just like send them over to Game Freak. Just
they helped with Breath of the Wild, so yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to be the end of the show, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you like the show and you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, rather, be sure to subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a review. It would really help us out. We've been actually like climbing the charts a lot lately. It's been nice. So thank you if you've shared the show with anybody, or if you're just a frequent listener. Even if you don't listen to every episode, just checking in here and there. We appreciate you giving us your time. And we'll see you next Thursday for another episode. Bye, everybody.